Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. As always, I appreciate that. Next up in my Steam list of games I want to review in alphabetical order is Age of Decadence. This game is set in what seems to be some kind of a medieval time, sort of fictional Roman Empire place, and on first glance this looks like an old school RPG inspired by the likes of Baldur's Gate and others. It has that sort of a crappy low-res graphics going on, limited selection of ambient sound effects, and there's no voice work in this game. So production values are quite low, and that might put some people off, which is a shame because this game is quite unique. Because on second glance, if you actually look at the locations that will open up for you in this game, these are quite unique. There's quite a bit of lore in this game. There are also these tiny little animations that kind of bring the whole world alive. And also, I was pleasantly surprised that the game doesn't waste your time when it comes down to the actual gameplay, because the RPGs of old, from the 90s of the last century, usually had you wandering around huge worlds and just wandering around for something interesting to find. But in this game, in Age of Decadence, the locations aren't that big, and quests are easily found, and you can also fast travel to almost all the locations, which is very, very convenient. So it really gets down to business very quickly. Now, Age of Decadence is really built around the idea that the way that you build and shape your character determines the paths you can take in order to complete certain tasks, finish certain quests, whether it is through dialogue, like streetwise dialogue, or to impersonate somebody, or to sort of have charisma, and or you can choose to do the quest and choose combat. Choosing a certain option for a certain quest will have permanent results, which means that you have to live with the consequences of your actions. And this game actually throws a lot of big choices at you, and quests are well written, and there's a lot of lore, as I said, to be discovered in this game. One of the big things about this game is just a very interesting world, lots of stuff to read, and it's just something you can really immerse yourself into. But on the other hand, the whole thing of action and consequences also has a double-edged sword. On one hand, yes, your actions matter, and you really need to overthink what you're doing, what choice you're going to make. But on the other hand, it is entirely possible that depending on your build and the way that you spend your experience points in this game on your character, a lot of the story, a lot of the lore, a lot of the dialogue is sort of lost on you. Also, certain areas might not be available or become inaccessible because of the choices that you make. So yes, again, I love the fact that as a player you get these choices. On the other hand, that does not always translate into a pleasant gaming experience, because, in fact, for the first playthrough I made a jack of all trades. I was stupid to do so. And in the end, I did manage to finish the game, but I accomplished really nothing, which really made me think, oh my god, what have I done? This is not the way I should have played the game, which warrants, again, another playthrough, of course, but some people, again, might find that a little bit too harsh on the player. Now let's talk a little bit more about the combat, because there's a lot of things going on with the combat. It's turn-based, so on the surface it's fairly simple. You sort of click on the enemy and then combat sort of starts, and the enemy will have their turn and will try and hit you. But there's actually a lot of stuff going on under the hood, so there's a lot of statistics, depending again on the way you build your character, what kind of weapons you're using, if you're using poison or something like that, the kind of armor that you're wearing. So there's a lot to that, but I do think that if you choose the combat route, so to speak, it is not a very viable or interesting route to take. Right from the start of the game, you're actually warned that if you're choosing combat, you might find that combat is very difficult. And it is, because most of the enemies you'll meet in this game are way stronger, and there are multiple enemies that will try and kill you. So you won't have any companions that will help you. You're really alone here. And only later on in the game you can actually win certain fights. But the thing is about the combat is that if you choose combat, again, that will sort of block you off of a lot of the backstory, a lot of the lore, a lot of the dialogue that the NPCs have for you, that will make it so that the game will make sense a lot more. So it seems that combat isn't really a very good option. So why have it in this game in the first place? That sort of puzzles me a little bit. But still, overall, I found that this game is quite unique, and it really boils down to finding that sort of perfect combination of statistics for your character, for your preferred play style, whether it be one that you're going to engage people with charisma, or with streetwise, or sort of the stances you can choose in this game. Again, a very unique experience, and I think that bigger studios can really learn from this game and incorporate some of these ideas into their big open worlds, where there's usually very little to accomplish, and there usually aren't really big consequences of your actions. So yeah, I do recommend this game, although with a little warning that if you're looking for a game that has a great payoff for combat, this is not your game. But if you're more into, like, I don't know, you create your own story, if you're looking for that, then this is really up your alley. So yeah, I enjoyed it and recommend it. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.